What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who Classic Review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 4th Doctor Tom Baker story, The Masque of Mandragora. This is the first story of season 14, so Tom Baker's 3rd season. It's also Sarah Jane Elizabeth Sladen's, well, 3rd season with the 4th Doctor, but 4th season altogether, and she's not in this whole season. She leaves a couple of episodes in. But yeah, I've never heard anything about this story. I've not got a whole lot of stories left to watch now. Only about 30 that of the currently released stories. I mean, that's not including like the Celestial Toymaker, which hasn't come out yet, and whatever ones might come out in the future. But yeah, I've got about 30 left to watch, and most of those I at least know a little bit about. This one I went in completely blind, had no idea at all what this episode was about, so it was a completely new experience for me. Anyway, let's get started looking at the back of the DVD. This is The Masque of Mandragora by Lewis Marks. After an encounter with the deadly Mandragora Helix, the Doctor and Sarah Jane land in 15th century San Martino. In the midst of danger, secrecy and intrigue, they witness the flowering of the Italian Renaissance. As the masque to celebrate the ascension of the new Duke approaches, the Doctor realizes that a 3rd visitor has arrived with him in the TARDIS. It is a force with the power to wipe out human civilization forever. The Doctor has brought it to Earth, and only the Doctor can stop it. So a nice little, synopsis on the back of the DVD there. Basically, the Doctor, it happens at the start of the story, the Doctor and Sarah Jane land in this kind of nothing zone, and then this thing called the Helix attacks them, and it ends up getting on board the TARDIS, and when they land on Earth, 15th century, it comes out of the TARDIS and, yeah, basically wreaks havoc from there. So the Doctor kind of made this all happen, inadvertently. So an interesting little concept there. Anyway, let's get started with this one with the cast. Tom Baker as the 4th Doctor. He is great in this one. Tom Baker is so good. He has quite a lot of great lines, whether they're funny or just good lines. Definitely a lot of funny lines though. And all in all, yeah, I mean, what can you say about Tom Baker? Apart from kind of his last couple of seasons where he was a little bit off, his first few seasons, he is absolutely brilliant. He is perfect. He has the comedy, he has the serious stuff. He just feels so much like the Doctor. And yeah, that's the case here as well. Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith, also very good in this story. I believe this is her 2nd to last story? I believe the next story after this one is The Hand of Fear. Yes, it is. So this is her 2nd to last story, and yeah, she's still really, really good here. Sarah Jane doesn't have the most to do in this story. She kind of gets captured a little bit, doesn't do a whole lot in this one, but for what she does do, yeah, Elizabeth Sladen does a very good job with it. Anyway, let's get on to some points about this story. The secondary TARDIS control room. So I believe this is the first time that we ever see the secondary control room for the TARDIS. It would, I believe, appear in The Deadly Assassin in a couple of stories' time, but I'm fairly certain this is the first time we see it. The Doctor, mentions that it's apparently an old control room, and they find a recorder in there, so that's from the 2nd Doctor. And he also, I'm not sure if it's like kind of a, one of those frilly shirts from the 3rd Doctor, I'm not 100% sure, but he finds something there as well, which I think are kind of callbacks to previous Doctors. So that's pretty cool. I do quite like the secondary control room. It's definitely different looking, very like wood, like the aesthetic is very wooden-like. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to have it as the main control room, but as just a little bit, something a bit different, I do quite like it. The Doctor accidentally brings Mandragora energy to 15th century Earth. So that is what this Helix thing is. He calls it Mandragora energy. And yeah, basically, like I said before, they land in this kind of nothing zone where they get attacked by this energy. They then get out of there, land on Earth, but it turns out the energy, the Helix, has followed them into the TARDIS and is now on Earth and causing all sorts of problems. So yeah, the Doctor has kind of made this happen in a way, so that is not great, but I do quite like that as a, it's something a bit different. Usually the Doctor arrives and something's already going on the Earth, whereas the Doctor lands here, everything's fine beforehand, but then yeah, he brings the threat with him, so it's something a little bit different. The Doctor escapes his execution by tripping the executioner with his scarf and jumping on a horse. I love that scene. I think it is the cliffhanger to part 1, I believe. This is only a 4-part story. I believe it's the cliffhanger to part 1 where the Doctor's going to get executed. He's going to get beheaded, basically. And then part 2 starts with him tripping over because he kind of like stops the execution. He's like, wait, and then trips him over with his scarf somehow. And then just does this comical run and jump onto a horse and just flees away on this horse. It's a really funny, silly moment. But I love that they had the Doctor with his, using his scarf. I just love that the Fourth Doctor scarf, it's not just a cosmetic thing. He actually does use it quite often as a tool, almost. Not really a weapon, but as a tool, and I really like that. It gives this Doctor a bit more personality. It gives, his costume more personality in a way, and I just really like that. Sarah keeps getting captured. So, I mean, it only happens 2, maybe 3 times where Sarah gets captured, and of course the Doctor gets captured as well. And I did mention it just because it is a bit of a trope of classic Who, especially kind of the 3rd Doctor era. I think it's the worst for it. My main one, Frontier in Space. I think the first episode I ever reviewed on this channel, actually, or one of the first, that has a ridiculous amount of capturing of the Doctor and Joe. But here, yeah, Sarah gets captured a couple of times. It's nothing too bad. I don't think it's too much going on, but it is kind of her only real point in this story. She doesn't really do anything other than being captured. So it's not necessarily a point down for this story, but it's also nothing to, go, oh, that's a really exciting thing. It's just kind of, yeah, okay, at least I guess it gives Sarah something to do, being captured. Sarah hypnotized by Hieronymus to kill the Doctor. So when she gets captured, I believe the 2nd time, Hieronymus, who is the kind of astronomer who is kind of getting used by the Mandragora helix energy, he hypnotizes her to kill the Doctor, and of course she goes to try and kill the Doctor, but yeah, the Doctor quickly stops that from happening. But yeah, so that's really the main thing that Sarah does in this story. So at least she's got a little bit of something to do there. Let's say Hieronymus gave him a blank look. I loved that line, probably my favorite line in this story, one of my favorite Fourth Doctor lines, when, you've got there's this brotherhood. So all these people wearing like dark robes, they're all wearing black robes apart from the leader is wearing like a pinky purpley sort of robe, and they all wear masks. And Hieronymus, who ends up, we figure out, is kind of the main one, the leader in this brotherhood. He gets taken over by this helix. His face has now disappeared, but we don't know that until he takes his mask off, and I believe he kills, is it Count Frederico? Is that Giuliano's uncle? I believe it is. Because you've got the main characters here, other than the Doctor and Sarah, of course, are Count Frederico, who I believe is the uncle, Giuliano, who is the prince, and Marco's a fairly big character as well. He's kind of the prince's sort of, not servant, because he's still like a high-ranking guy by the looks of it, but a friend, accomplice, I guess you could say. They're kind of the main characters here, and I believe it's Count Frederico, the uncle, who gets killed by Hieronymus when he reveals that he's got no face anymore because he's been completely taken over by the Mandragora helix, and it kills the uncle. And yeah, just when Giuliano's like, what happened to my uncle? And the Doctor's like, let's just say he gave him a blank look because he had no face. I loved that line so much, I really did. The Doctor putting the lion head costume on, I love that scene as well. There are a lot of pretty good scenes in this episode when, he's got to put a disguise on because they're going to this party, this kind of dress-up party. So the Doctor grabs this lion costume, puts the lion head on, and then starts like roaring and pretending to be a lion. I just thought that was a really funny scene. What else have we got? Final point actually. The Brethren infiltrating the dance. So yeah, the dance is happening, the Brethren end up coming in, infiltrating, but it turns out in the end that I'm not exactly 100% sure what happened, because I think the Doctor ended up with Hieronymus, didn't he? And we weren't sure 100% what happened. It turns out that I guess the Doctor either killed Hieronymus or, I don't know, just maybe he didn't kill him. I can't 100% remember. I guess he wasn't a person anymore, was he? So I can't 100% remember what happened there, but basically the Doctor reveals himself dressed as the Brethren leader that was Hieronymus. And yeah, basically saves the day. A little bit of a, quick, not 100% making sense ending. That is one of my main complaints about this one. Final point I want to talk about is actually just the guest cast. I think this has a pretty good guest cast. The uncle, who, like I said, I'm pretty sure that's Count Federico. John Lorrimore, he's pretty good. I think he's probably the weakest of the three, though. Gareth Armstrong is Giuliano. Just as a character, I really liked Giuliano. I could genuinely almost see him as a companion. Like, he was a really good character. I just think, he seemed like a really nice guy. He wanted to help. He had all his reasons for why he didn't like his uncle and why, all this was going on. And I really liked him. Tim Pigott-Smith as Marco as well. A little bit more unhinged, quite an angry guy, but at times. But I think he was played very well as well. Norman Jones as Hieronymus, I thought was fine. A little bit campy at times. But all in all, yeah, I'd say the majority of the guest cast in this one are actually very good, which I'm going to be honest, in classic Doctor Who, we quite often get a fairly bland guest cast a lot of the time. But yeah, in this episode, I really liked pretty much all the cast. So there we have it, the Masque of Mandragora. This I thought was actually a pretty good episode, only 4 parts long, so it didn't drag too much. I did actually watch this over 2 sittings. I usually watch a 4-parter in one go, but I watched the first 2 parts in the evening one night and was really tired, so I watched the other 2 parts in the morning. But either or, I didn't think it was that slow, maybe a little bit slow starting, but the final episode especially I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed part 4. I thought it was a really good episode. And yeah, for an episode that I didn't know anything about going in, I was surprisingly happy, surprised by this one, I guess. So I'm going to give the Masque of Mandragora a 7.5 out of 10. I think this was a pretty good episode. It's nothing absolutely groundbreaking, but I think it's better than just kind of an average story. It is a good story. I find myself enjoying it. The premise was interesting, not too convoluted at all. Just a little bit, here and there. Sarah getting captured and not having a whole lot to do in the story lets it down a little bit. And I did think the ending was a little bit rushed, but other than that, really enjoyed this one. 7 out of 10 for the Masque of Mandragora. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.